So, imagine waking up on a wooden cart, your hands tied, the sun in your face, and the sound of someone snoring next to you. That's your welcome party. You don't know where you're headed, but the guards do, and they're not really the chatty type. The road's been long, dusty, and, frankly, uncomfortable. You're not sure how long you've been traveling, days, maybe weeks, but eventually the cart creaks to a stop. You sit up, stretch your sore back, and take a look. There it is, the Ludus, a gladiator training school. Big stone walls, an iron gate, and some serious-looking men at the entrance. One of them looks at you like he's sizing up a mule. You're not sure if that's a good thing or not. The gate opens with a groan that sounds way too dramatic for this moment. But hey, the Romans love their flair. You're pushed inside, blinking in the sunlight. And that's when it hits you. This is real. You're going to be a gladiator. The first thing you notice is the smell. Sweat, leather, and dust. And something that might have once been cabbage. Welcome to your new home. The barracks are long and narrow. Wooden bunks stacked side by side. No privacy, no pillows, just enough space for a body and a dream. And let's be honest, most people here probably gave up on dreams a while ago. You see a group of other new arrivals, some looking tough, others scared stiff. One guy looks like he's already planning his escape. Good luck to him. Then comes the lanista. He's the head trainer, and judging by the size of his arms, he's not someone you'd want to spill soup on. He doesn't say much, just points at you and mutters something about work to do, comforting. Next stop, the checkup. You're taken into a smaller room where a man with wild grey hair and a face like a raisin pokes at your ribs, checks your teeth, and taps your knees. It's not exactly a warm welcome, but you pass, more or less. No broken bones, no fever, no complaints. Good. Next. You're led to a stool, and before you can ask what's happening, snip. A handful of your hair hits the ground. The haircut ritual has begun. There's no asking what style you want. There are no mirrors, and definitely no soothing spa music. Just quick, rough cuts with a dull blade. When they're done, your head feels about 5 pounds lighter, and you look like a shaved goat. But hey, at least you're cooler now. Back in the yard, you're handed a cup of something warm and thick. It's food, apparently, some kind of barley stew. You take a sip and try not to make a face. It's nutritious and chewy. One of the veterans walks past and laughs at your expression. You'll miss this when they start training you, he says. That's comforting, in a totally not comforting way. You get your first real look at the other gladiators while sitting in the shade. They're a mixed bunch. Big, small, scarred, tattooed. Some are laughing, others are sharpening weapons. One guy is just staring at a bug. They don't all seem miserable, though. In fact, some look weirdly at peace, like this life is better than what they came from. That's something to think about later. For now, he's just trying not to pass out. As the sun drops lower, the courtyard gets quieter. Shadows stretch across the walls. Some guys sit and talk, others polish gear, and a few just lie on their backs, staring at the sky like it owes them something. It's peaceful in a strange way. You're tired, sure, sore, nervous, but something about the evening feels almost normal. Like maybe, just maybe, this isn't the end of the world. Not yet. Before bed, the Lanisto walks the rows, eyes scanning every face. He stops near you and grunts. You survived the week, he says. Maybe you'll live long enough to fight. Then he moves on. You lie back on the hard wood of your bunk. No mattress, no blanket, just your thoughts and the distant sound of someone snoring again. Probably the same guy from the cart. You think about your old life, whatever it was. A farm, a ship. Maybe you were a soldier. Maybe you were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Doesn't really matter now. Now, you're here, a recruit, a soon-to-be gladiator. And tomorrow the training begins. But tonight, you rest. You listen to the sounds of the ludus, the clink of metal, a few quiet whispers, and the soft breeze rustling through the open windows. You don't know what's coming, but for now, you're alive. You've got food in your stomach, a roof over your head, and for the first time in a long time, something like a purpose. Sleep comes slowly, but when it does, it's deep, because tomorrow is going to hurt. So now you're in the ludus, officially on the path to becoming a gladiator. You've survived your first day, and even managed to choke down that chunky barley stew. Gladiators weren't just about entertainment. They were a living, bleeding symbol of Rome's power, over enemies, over death, and over fate itself. The arena was like a miniature battlefield, except this one sold snacks. There were lots of types, each with their own gear, style, and fan base. Momillo, big guy with a helmet shaped like a fish, a rectangular shield and a short sword. Threx wore a curved sword and small shield, with flashy armor and fast footwork. Retiarius, no helmet, just a net and trident, like a fisherman in a death match. Secutor, meant to chase down the Retiarius, smooth helmet, heavy armor. The matchups were carefully planned, like a gladiator version of chess, with swords. Not all gladiators were slaves. Some men actually volunteered, usually because they were in debt, needed food, or wanted fame. For some, the arena offered a second chance, a weird one, sure, but still a chance. Gladiators were kind of like ancient rock stars. People painted graffiti of them, gave them nicknames. Some were invited to parties, given gifts, even asked to be bodyguards. Even famous ones had to keep fighting. Reputation meant nothing if you couldn't survive. The Romans didn't just see gladiators as fighters. They saw them as part of a grand, cosmic story. People carved charms with gladiator images, believed they brought strength or luck. Before each fight, there were blessings, sacrifices, even chants. It wasn't just blood, it was theater. They were performers, symbols, sacrifices, and heroes, sometimes all at once. Every gladiator was more than just a man with a weapon. He was a message carved in sweat and steel. You wake up to the sound of boots stomping and someone yelling Latin words that basically translate to get up or get hit. There's no time to sit and reflect. You've got about 30 seconds to throw on your tunic and make it to the training yard. It's still dark outside. The sand's cold under your feet, and everyone's already lined up. These are ancient Roman stretches, which means you bend until something pops and the trainer grunts in approval. Laps around the yard until your lungs feel like they're trying to escape your body. This isn't for fun. It's all about conditioning. You train with wooden swords, heavier than the real thing, so when you finally hold steel, it feels light. Step, pivot, lunge, block. Again, again, again. One sloppy step in the arena can mean a blade through your ribs. They can spot a bad stance from across the yard. If you mess up, maybe it's extra drills, maybe it's a smack with a wooden stick. You stop surviving the drills and start mastering them. You get a bowl of something that looks like beige mush and smells like boiled bread in vinegar. You're basically powered by peasant oatmeal. Now it's time for sparring. You pair up and go at it under the watchful eye of a trainer. Sometimes you get paired with a veteran, good and bad. By lunchtime, you're bruised, sweaty, and grateful to sit in the shade for 10 minutes. If you're late, you get punished. One guy fell asleep and woke up with his mattress missing. You wake up, you train, you eat barley stew, you train more, you collapse, repeat. You crawl into your bunk, exhausted but proud. You're stronger than you were yesterday. When you first walk into the armory, it's like walking into a museum, if the museum wanted to kill you. This was the Gladius, the short, thick, deadly sword. Simple, brutal, iconic. Viability. Then there's the trident, long, heavy, with prongs made to stab or catch. Doesn't look like much, but throw it right and it's game over. Shields aren't just for blocking, they're for bashing, pushing, and knocking your opponent flat. In training, you don't get the real thing. You get wood, heavy wood. They're heavier than steel. That's the point. Train with wood, fight with speed. Muscle memory is everything. You don't think, you react. You learn to move like you're dancing, a very angry, very dangerous dance. The sand becomes your training partner. It hides traps, slips underfoot, and teaches humility. You don't just use your weapons, you take care of them. Rust is your enemy, dirt is your enemy, laziness is your enemy. Some paint their shields, some scratch prayers into their sword handles. The helmet. You can't see well, and you can barely breathe, but you feel unstoppable. 2 by 2, you step in rhythm, swing in rhythm, breathe in rhythm. Trident fighters have to learn distance. One bad throw, and you're toast. Even your shield in training is heavier than what you'll use in the arena. Before dinner, everyone tends to their gear. Polish, sharpen, patch. Some of the gear belong to fallen fighters. You wonder if their ghosts linger in the steel. Even at night, someone's always swinging in the shadows, perfecting their next move. Even in a world built on bruises and blood, something unexpected takes root. Friendship. In the barracks, the aches are shared, and strangers slowly become family. Narrow alerts with a grunt, a joke, a laugh. Inside jokes and silly nicknames break through the fatigue. You don't just fight together, you start to live together. Stories fly fast, real ones, lies, and tall tales of old lives. A fisherman, a baker, and a man who swears he once wrestled a bear. Naked. You just nod and pass a jug. It's not all brotherhood. Some men just don't mix. Scuffles break out, tempers, rivalries, bruised egos. But they rarely go too far. Everyone knows the punishment isn't worth it. The veterans, quiet, scarred, and deadly, watch you. If they decide you're worth the effort, they'll teach you how to fight smart. That's the chain. You pass it on, or it dies with you. From bruises and drills, something deeper forms. A code. Share water. Don't mock the weak. Fight hard. Respect the fallen. It's not written anywhere, but you feel it in everything you do. The night brings peace, singing, jokes, someone snoring too loud. It's not quite home, but it's close. Even the bad smells start to mean something. When the arena calls and the gate opens, you're not alone. You don't just fight for yourself. You fight for your brothers, the ones who bled, trained, and stood beside you. So far, we've met the other gladiators. We've talked about training, bruises, bad stew, and wooden swords. But now it's time to talk about the folks running the whole show. And trust me, you'll want to pay attention to these guys, because they're not here to be your friends. They're here to turn you into a fighter. First up, the lanista. He's the top dog, the boss, the one who owns the ludus and owns you too if you're a slave fighter. Sounds harsh? That's because it is. The lanista is part businessman, part general, and part very grumpy uncle. He arranges the matches, negotiates with officials, buys new recruits, and makes sure the whole gladiator machine runs smoothly. But don't let the business talk fool you. He's also the one who dishes out discipline. Late for training? That's a punishment. Mouth off during drills? More punishment. Disrespect the code? You'll wish you hadn't. He doesn't yell often, but when he does, you listen. And when he doesn't yell, you listen harder. He's the kind of guy who walks into a room and the air just gets heavier. Still, the lanista isn't always a villain. Some are cruel, yes, but others are clever, practical, even fair, as long as you pull your weight. After all, to a lanista, a trained gladiator is an investment, a product, one that took months to build and could be ruined in seconds. You're not just a person anymore. You're property with muscles. Kind of like a racehorse, except you swing swords instead of galloping. Now let's meet the doctores. These are the trainers, and they're not here to hold your hand. Each doctor specializes in a specific fighting style: sword and shield, net and trident, dual blades. Whatever your role is going to be in the arena, they know every move, every tactic, every sneaky trick to survive longer than the other guy. If the lanista is the boss, the doctor is your drill sergeant, coach, and personal tormentor rolled into one. They'll walk up behind you mid-swing and correct your form with a shove. They'll grab your wrist and make you do the motion again and again until your arm goes numb. They'll bark instructions in Latin you barely understand, and somehow you'll understand them anyway. Some are strict and silent. Others like to bark insults to motivate you. One might call you slugfoot. Another will say your sword swings like a limp fish. It's not personal. Okay, maybe sometimes it's a little personal, but believe it or not, they want you to get better. Because if you die in your first match, it makes them look bad, and that's a sin greater than anything else.
Now let's pull back a little and look at the business side of things. Because yes, gladiators were big business. Fights weren't just for fun, they were events. Sponsored by politicians or rich elites trying to win votes or boost their reputation. And the lanista? He made sure the contracts were signed and the money flowed in. Sometimes a city would rent out a few of his best fighters for a festival. The lanista would negotiate a price, transport the men, and collect the profits like a traveling fight club, but more organized and with better sandals. And here's the twist. Some gladiators actually got paid. If you were a volunteer, an auctoratus, you could sign a contract for a set number of years. In exchange, you'd get food, a roof over your head, medical care sort of, and money for each match. Win, and you might earn extra. Lose, and, well, you might not be able to spend it. And if you were really good, you could earn enough to buy your freedom, retire, maybe even become a trainer yourself. Not bad for a life that started with getting punched in the ribs every morning. Of course, not everything was about bruises and coins. There was also a lot of mind games, because being a good fighter isn't just about muscle, it's about mindset. The trainers wanted you to think like a killer, not just react but hunt. Stay calm under pressure. Read your opponent like a book and rip out the ending. To do that, they used some interesting methods. Maybe they'd pair you with a stronger opponent to make you feel the fear and learn to fight through it. Maybe they'd force you to spar while tired, hungry, or angry, just to see how you handled stress. One trainer might whisper before a match, "Imagine he insulted your mother." Another might say, "He'd kill you without blinking. What are you going to do about it?" It wasn't just physical, it was psychological warfare. The arena didn't reward panic, it rewarded precision, cold, sharp thinking, and the doctores made sure your brain was just as trained as your blade. By the end of your first month, you don't even flinch when a trainer yells. You've learned their rhythms. You know which ones will bark and which ones will just stare at you until you correct yourself. And oddly enough, you respect them, because somehow, under all the pressure, all the sweat and all the bruises, you're getting better. Your footwork is tighter, your guard is higher, your instincts are sharper, and your fear? It's still there. But it's quieter now, controlled. You're not just a prisoner anymore, not just some scared recruit. You're a student of war. And your teachers? Harsh, brutal, unforgiving. But they're also the only reason you'll have a chance to survive what's coming next.
It's the end of another long day at the Ludus. The training yard is quiet now. The weapons have been put away. The dust has settled. Even the trainers who spent the last 10 hours yelling at everyone have finally gone silent. And you've made it through another day. You shuffle back to the barracks, sore and half-starved, but still breathing, which in this world is as close to a victory as it gets. The room is dim. A few candles flicker on wooden shelves, casting long shadows on the walls. Their flames dance with the breeze coming through the open windows. The scent of melted wax mixes with something else, oil, sweat, and fresh bread from the kitchen. It's a weird combination, but somehow you've grown used to it. Your body hurts, your hands are raw, there's a bruise on your hip from that last sparring session, and your left shoulder clicks every time you stretch. Still you settle onto your bunk, lean back and breathe. For the first time all day, there's peace. This is the time when thoughts come creeping in, not the loud ones, the quiet ones, the ones you don't hear until everything else has stopped moving. You start thinking about home, whatever and wherever that was. A quiet village, a warm kitchen, a face you loved, a dog that never listened, a river where you used to swim when summers got too hot. You haven't been there in so long that you're not sure if those memories are even real anymore. Maybe they're just fragments now, smells, sounds, old feelings with no names, but still they come back to you. In these quiet moments, they always come back. And then comes the other thought, the one you try not to dwell on during the day. Death. It's always there, hiding just behind the next match, the next blade, the next unlucky mistake. You don't talk about it much out loud, but you feel it. Everyone does. And in the silence of the barracks, when no one's swinging a sword or barking commands, it hits different. Not as panic, not even as fear really. More like a question. Will I still be here tomorrow night? Some guys deal with it by talking. You'll hear quiet conversations drifting across the room. Hushed voices, half laughing, half serious. Some talk about the day's drills. Others tell the same old stories they always tell. About their hometowns, about fights they survived, about dreams of freedom. One guy says he wants to open a tavern if he ever gets out. Another swears he's going to retire to the countryside and grow olives. Everyone nods like they believe him. No one says out loud that he might not live long enough to see that grow.
Others turn to prayer. You see it in the corners of the room, men kneeling, fingers pressed together, whispering words to gods old and new. Mars, of course, the god of war. But also to Fortuna, goddess of luck, Nemesis, goddess of revenge. Even the household gods some brought with them from faraway lands. The prayers are soft, personal, private. They're not asking to win, they're asking to live. Sometimes, if you listen closely, you'll hear something else in the distance, drifting through the open shutters. Cheers. Not loud, not close. Maybe from another part of the city, a tavern celebrating. Or maybe the echoes of a match held earlier in the day, when the amphitheatre was packed and roaring. It's a strange thing, hearing joy from so far away, while lying in a room full of aching muscles and quiet fears. It reminds you that outside these walls, the world keeps spinning. People laugh, eat, drink, dance, and tomorrow, they'll cheer while you fight for your life. It's a weird feeling, Not anger, not jealousy, just distance. Back in the barracks, the candlelight flickers lower. Some guys are already asleep. Others roll over, whisper something to the ceiling and close their eyes. You lie on your back, staring at the wooden beams above you. You can hear the slow rhythm of breathing all around. That low, steady sound of men finally at rest. There's comfort in that sound. Even with everything, the bruises, the fear, the uncertainty, there's a strange peace in knowing you're not going through it alone. A few bunks down, someone starts snoring. Not loud, but definitely there. A couple of guys groan and throw a boot in his direction. It hits the floor with a soft thud. There's a chuckle from the corner, then silence again. These are the little things that make life bearable here. The shared discomfort, the jokes, the sounds, the smells, even the bad ones. Because after a while, they all mean something. You shift under your thin blanket, close your eyes and breathe in deeply. You smell oil from your armor, sweat from your tunic, bread from the kitchen, candle wax, sand, steel, all the scents of this strange, harsh world you now call home. And somehow, in the middle of it all, you start to drift off. Not peacefully exactly, but calmly, like your body knows it needs to rest, and your mind is too tired to argue. Tomorrow, it all begins again. The yelling, the drills, the weight of the sword, the ache in your legs. But for now, you rest. Because in a place where nothing is certain, not the next fight, not the next breath, this moment of stillness is something rare and something worth holding on to. It starts with a whisper. Maybe someone in the barracks mentions your name a little louder than usual. Maybe a trainer nods when you finish a perfect block. Or maybe the cook gives you an extra spoonful of barley stew without saying a word. Whatever it is, you notice it. Something has changed. You're no longer just another face in the crowd. You're becoming someone. In the Ludus, there's no official scoreboard carved into stone, but everyone knows who's who. The internal rankings are built quietly, match by match, bruise by bruise. Victories earn respect, clean technique gets noticed. And surviving, that counts too. If you win a fight, especially a tough one, people remember. If you win 2, 3, more. Now you're building a reputation. It's not just the trainers who keep track. Your fellow gladiators know the pecking order better than anyone. There's the quiet guy who's never lost a match. The wild one who fights like he's already dead. The rookie who surprised everyone with a lucky win. And now, maybe, you. Your name gets mentioned more during drills. You're called up early during sparring. People watch you when you train. Not in a bad way, just curious, like they're trying to figure out what you've got. And it's not long before that attention reaches outside the walls. Because the truth is, gladiators aren't just fighters, they're celebrities, and Rome loves a star. If you fight well enough, people start to notice, and not just the average crowd in the cheap seats. We're talking senators, merchants, rich citizens with time and money to spend. They come to watch, to cheer, and sometimes to sponsor. This is where the word patronage comes in. If a wealthy Roman liked the way you moved in the arena, the way you dodged, fought, and stood tall even when you were bleeding, they might want to claim you as theirs. Not own you exactly, but promote you. Boost your name, send you gifts, maybe even invite you to fancy dinners where you don't have to eat barley mush for once. Some gladiators ended up with actual fans in high places, and let me tell you, nothing makes the porridge go down smoother than knowing a senator's wife thinks you're dashing. With fame comes the little things. Nicknames, for example. No one calls you by your real name anymore. You're the Panther, Iron Hand, the Red Flame. You get the idea. They paint your name on walls in chalk and charcoal. You see it scratched into the side of a tavern. Felix, the Unbroken. 5 wins, no losses. You try to act cool about it, but inside, you're kind of glowing. Becomes your resume. Rome doesn't do resumes the way we know them. They do scribbles and chants and coins with your face on them.
if you're lucky. Some of it's flattering, some of it's weird. You might see something like Crixus makes hearts race, or I want Hermes the Blade to notice me. Public fame is messy, but it's real. And in a life that started with chains or desperation, being remembered feels like a kind of freedom all its own. Speaking of freedom, let's talk about the wooden sword. It's called the rudis, and it's not the clunky practice stick you started with in training. This one's special, polished, clean, symbolic. It means freedom. When a gladiator earns enough victories, shows enough skill, and becomes valuable, sometimes the lanista, or even the crowd, will reward them with the rudis. It's the official way of saying, you've earned your way out. You're no longer a fighter. You're free to go. Imagine standing in the arena, still panting from your last match, blood dripping down your arm. The sun's beating down on your shoulders, the crowd is roaring, and then someone walks out holding a polished wooden sword. Your trainer gives you a nod. The lanista says nothing, but his face doesn't look angry, and you realize you've done it. You step forward and take the rudis in your hand. It's not heavy, it's not sharp, but it's the most powerful weapon you've ever held. Some gladiators leave immediately after. They pack up what little they own, say a few goodbyes, and walk out into the world. Free men at last. Others choose to stay. Strange, right? But after years of living by the sword, sleeping in the barracks, and hearing the crowd chant your name, leaving feels strange, lonely even. So some become trainers, some work for the ludus, some just hang around, half retired, but still dangerous. Once a gladiator, always a gladiator, at least a little. Of course, most don't make it that far. The arena isn't a fairy tale, it's a meat grinder. But for the few who rise above, who survive the odds and carve their name into the walls of history, the path to glory is real, and it starts with one good fight, then another, until your name doesn't just belong to you anymore. It belongs to Rome. So when you lie in your bunk at night staring at the ceiling, sore and tired and wondering what the point of it all is, remember this. The path to glory is made of sand, blood, sweat, and 1,000 tiny choices to keep going. It's not easy, but then again, nothing legendary ever is.
The crowd hasn't gathered yet. The gates are still closed. The sand in the arena is smooth and untouched, waiting for footsteps and blood. But behind those high stone walls, in the gladiators' quarters, the rituals have already begun. Because before any sword is raised, a different kind of battle starts, the one inside your own head. There's no single way to prepare for a fight. Some men talk, others go quiet. A few laugh like they're headed to a wedding. But everyone has a routine. Some rub oil on their skin, not for vanity, but for protection. The slick layer makes it harder for an opponent to grab or slice deep. Plus, the scent of the olive oil mixes with the dust and steel in a way that's almost grounding. You see fighters kneeling beside their gear, sharpening their blades. Slow, steady strokes on a whetstone. The shk, shk sound is strangely calming, like a lullaby made of danger. Others just sit, still, eyes closed, meditating, sort of. Not in a peaceful monk on a mountain way, but in the practical, I'm about to risk my life way. Focus, breathe, don't think about dying. Or if you do think about it, make peace with it. Then there are the offerings. A little piece of bread, a few drops of wine, sometimes just a whispered word or two. These are left at shrines in the corners of the room, small stone altars dedicated to gods who are always watching. There's Mars, of course, the god of war. Strong, silent, and never smiling. If you want courage, you ask him for it. Then there's Nemesis, goddess of justice and revenge. She doesn't like arrogance. If you pray to her, it's usually to ask for fairness or to make sure your opponent gets what's coming. Some men pray to Fortuna, hoping for luck. Others light incense for their household gods, the small personal spirits that remind them of home, a mother, a brother, a child's laugh. There's no rule book here, just belief, raw, honest, and often whispered under your breath. And then come the signs. Gladiators are a superstitious bunch, and really, who can blame them? You're about to step into a place where one wrong move can end everything. Of course you're going to look for patterns, for signs, for fate. A dream about falling might mean death. A bird flying to the left could be a warning. If you lace your sandals in the wrong order, you might undo all your luck.
Some fighters won't speak the morning of a fight. Others won't eat meat or won't let anyone touch their sword but them. The trainers mostly roll their eyes, but they let it happen. Because when you're facing the arena, you need to believe something's on your side. For those who take it seriously, there are priests and interpreters, people who read omens and guide men through the fog of fear. One might cast bones or read patterns in ash. Another might interpret your dream from the night before. Was it a vision or just bad stew? Some priests are gentle. They place a hand on your shoulder, speak calmly, and remind you that the gods favor the brave. Others are a bit more dramatic. Loud chants, flailing arms, and predictions that sound suspiciously vague. Today, a great battle will happen. No kidding, priest. Thanks for the update. Still, whether it's genuine belief or just a comforting habit, the rituals matter. They give shape to the chaos, a rhythm to the fear. And in a world where the next hour isn't promised, sometimes belief is the only thing holding you together. As the time draws near, you feel the mood shift. The noise outside starts to build. Cheers, drums, the buzz of thousands of voices waiting for blood and spectacle. Inside, things get quieter. You fasten your armor. You wrap your wrists. You give your sword one last look. The guy next to you might offer a nod. No words, just a small, human gesture. Good luck, brother. Hope we both walk back in. Then the lanista enters. He doesn't say much, just gives the signal. It's time. The guards open the gate. The sunlight spills in like fire. You step into the brightness, heart thudding, breath steady, muscles ready. You've done everything you can. You've oiled your skin, you've sharpened your blade, you've prayed, stretched, stayed quiet, looked for signs. Now, it's just you and the arena, and whatever waits on the other side of the sand. So you walk forward, slow, focused, head high, and in the back of your mind, as the crowd roars and the dust swirls around your feet, you hear the soft voice of the priest. May the gods favor you today. And you whisper back, even if no one can hear it, let's hope they're watching. The sun is higher now, bright, hot. Your gear is tight against your skin, armor strapped down, sandals laced, weapon in hand. Everything's been checked twice. There's nothing left to do but walk.
The gate of the ludus opens, creaking slow and loud, like it's announcing something important. And in a way, it is. Because this isn't training anymore. This is real.
You follow the guards down a narrow stone corridor, your footsteps echoing around you, Others walk beside you, some quiet, some whispering prayers under their breath.
The walk from the ludus to the arena isn't long, but it feels like a lifetime. Every step is heavier, every sound sharper.
You pass market stalls and curious onlookers. People point. Some cheer, some just stare. They know where you're going, and they know not everyone who walks this path comes back. Then you see it, rising above the rooftops like a mountain made of stone. The Colosseum. It's massive, almost unreal. You've seen it from a distance before, but up close it feels like it's swallowing the sky. Carved arches, towering columns, flags snapping in the wind. This isn't just an arena. It's a machine built to feed on fear and spectacle. And today, you're part of the show. The guards lead you into the underground level, the hypogeum, a maze of hallways, cages, pulleys, and shadows. You wait in silence. Above you, the sound of the crowd builds. Voices, stomping feet, drums. It's like a storm rumbling over your head. You grip your weapon a little tighter. When the time comes, the gate opens, and the noise hits you like a wave. The roar of the crowd is deafening. Tens of thousands of voices, all shouting, cheering, laughing. It's not just noise, it's energy, raw, wild, and aimed straight at you. Your heart thuds in your chest, your throat goes dry. The sun blinds you as you step out onto the arena floor, and just like that, you're in the middle of it. The first thing you notice is the heat. The sand beneath your feet is scorching. The sun reflects off metal shields and helmets like tiny flashes of fire. You squint, trying to take it all in. The arena floor is huge, a giant oval of sand surrounded by towering stone walls and row after row of seats filled with shouting faces. It's not just a flat surface either. There are traps, hidden doors, raised platforms, ropes, maybe even a pit or two, depending on the event. Every inch of this place was designed to keep the audience entertained.
You don't look up at the crowd. Not yet. Instead, you scan the ground. You feel the weight of your weapon. You test your stance. You center yourself. The noise starts to fade, not because it's quieter, but because your mind shuts it out. You're locking in now. Then, you see him, your opponent. He enters from the opposite gate, armor glinting, posture sharp. You don't know his name, and it doesn't matter. What matters is how he moves, how he holds his sword, how he plants his feet. You look him in the eyes, and he looks back. No words, just calculation. You're sizing each other up like animals. Who's faster, who's stronger, who hesitated for even half a second. This is where most fights are halfway decided. Not with blades, but with that first stare. Some guys look nervous, some look angry, but the dangerous ones, they're calm, focused, like they've already imagined this fight 100 times before it started. So, you keep your face still, you breathe slow, you don't blink. Let him wonder what you're thinking. Let him guess wrong. Somewhere in the crowd, an announcer shouts your names. The people cheer again, coins are tossed, bets are placed, children yell things they don't understand. And at the center of it all, there's you. Just you. And him. And a circle of hot sand beneath your feet. The referee raises a hand, the signal is close. You adjust your stance, roll your shoulders, flex your grip. This moment, right here, right now, is the edge of everything. Behind you is the barracks, the training, the prayers, the dreams. Ahead of you is survival, pain, maybe victory, or maybe not. You take one last look at the sand, the sweat running down your back, the sword in your hand, the sun in your eyes. And then you breathe, deep, calm, ready. Because in a few heartbeats, the world will explode into motion, and whatever happens next, you've already stepped into the fire. The signal is given. You don't hear it with your ears exactly. You feel it in your bones. The sudden shift in the air, the way your opponent lowers his stance, the moment the waiting ends and the fighting begins. And just like that, you're in it. The fight doesn't start with wild swinging or shouting. It starts with silence. Not from the crowd, they're louder than ever, but from you and the man across from you. Two fighters moving in tight circles, eyes locked, blades twitching slightly in your hands. This is the rhythm of the arena. Step, pause, breathe, watch. You're not just looking for an opening, you're looking for a pattern, a mistake, the tilt of his head, the way he favors one leg, a flick of the wrist that might give away a coming strike. Every inch matters, every heartbeat is part of the dance. Then he lunges, a flash of steel. You sidestep just enough. Your shield catches the edge of his sword with a clang, and your whole arm vibrates from the impact. That's when the strategy kicks in. You've trained for this moment. How to absorb, deflect, counter. Not just swing and hope, but think. You shift your weight, stay low, keep your blade tight to your body. There's no spinning, no wasted motion. This isn't a movie. It's a chess match with blades, and if you move wrong, you lose a piece of yourself. You strike, he blocks, he slashes, you dodge. The blades ring again, shields crack, sand kicks up. Your legs move without thinking now, your lungs burning already. You can hear the crowd, faintly. They're roaring, shouting names, chanting, begging for blood. But your mind is focused on survival. And then something shifts. You land a hit, a clean one, his shoulder maybe. He stumbles and you press forward, but he's not done. He sweeps your legs, and now you're in the dirt, the world tilting. The crowd gasps as you roll, come up swinging, your arm nicked but still working. The pace changes again, fast, wild. This is the part they came to see, the violence, the chaos, the spectacle. This is the moment where instincts take over. Your mind is quiet now, not because it's blank, but because it's focused. Every muscle is working together, every breath is calculated. You're sweating, bleeding, but still standing. And through the dust, through the sunlight, through the screams and chants, there's clarity. It's just you and the blade. Then comes the worst part. You strike low, and your opponent drops. He's on one knee, breathing heavy. His sword slips from his hand. Blood runs from a cut above his brow. And now, everything stops. The crowd falls quiet. The fight isn't over, but you've won. Maybe. Because now you look to the editor, the man in charge of today's games. Could be a politician, could be a wealthy sponsor. He's sitting above it all, under a canopy, fanning himself with a silk cloth. He holds your fate and your opponent's in his hands. He looks to the crowd. He listens. Some shout, "Kill him." Others shout, "Let him live." It's not always about skill. Sometimes it's about the mood of the people, the heat of the day, the way the wind is blowing. It's Rome after all. Then the signal, thumbs up or down.
In real life, it's not always the movie version. The hand gesture might be turned, waved, pointed. But whatever it is, it's clear and final. You take a breath and do what you've been trained to do. Afterwards, you don't celebrate. You just stand there, covered in dust and sweat and blood. Maybe your own, maybe not. Your heart is still racing, your legs are shaking, but your back is straight. You did it. You lived. The medics come out with stretchers. The attendants sweep the sand, smooth it over, like nothing happened. You walk back through the gate you came through, the noise fading behind you. Back into the cool shadows, back into yourself. And here's the strange thing. You don't feel proud, not right away. You feel empty, not in a bad way, just quiet. Because after everything, the training, the praying, the waiting, the fighting, you're still here, and that's enough. Later, you'll clean your wounds, talk with the others, maybe even smile when someone offers you a piece of bread. You'll hear stories of other matches, who won, who fell, who surprised everyone. And your name will be whispered a little louder than before, because today you danced with death and walked away.
You've left the arena. The sand is still clinging to your skin. Blood crusts at the edge of your armor. Your weapon is heavy in your hand, not because it weighs more now, but because of what it's done. And suddenly, the cheering feels far away, like it wasn't for you, like it belonged to someone else. A pair of guards help you walk. You don't remember asking for help, but your legs aren't arguing. They lead you to the infirmary, a small stone room in the back of the ludus. Not fancy, not quiet, just rows of cots and the sharp, bitter smell of herbs, sweat and old wounds. You sit, and the healer gets to work. No ceremony, no questions, just fingers pressing into bruises, cloth dabbing blood from your face, a cold salve smeared on your shoulder, a cracked rib tested with a gentle nudge that still makes you wince. It hurts. Of course it hurts. But you don't complain. Nobody does. Next to you, another fighter groans in his sleep, his legs wrapped in a blood-soaked bandage. Someone else is missing teeth. One man just stares at the ceiling, awake, but not really there. The room is quiet, except for the occasional sharp breath or soft mutter. Like everyone's trying not to make noise, like pain feels more personal in silence. You notice your own body now, the cuts, the bruises, the places where your skin burns, where your bones ache, where everything inside you feels like it's been rattled loose. But the worst wound isn't one you can point to. It's something deeper, something you carry quietly behind your eyes. You lie back and try to rest, but sleep doesn't come right away. Instead, your mind replays the fight, not the crowd or the noise or the cheers, just the eyes of your opponent, that moment of hesitation, the way the blade slid in, the sound he made. You didn't want to remember it, but now you can't forget it. Later, someone brings you water, a small chunk of bread. You force yourself to eat, even if your stomach doesn't want it. Your hands are trembling, but you don't let anyone see. You're still alive. That's supposed to feel like a victory. And yet, it's complicated. Eventually, you stand, slowly, carefully, and you walk back to the barracks. Your steps echo in the hallway. The closer you get, the quieter it seems. Then you enter. Sometimes, when a fighter returns after a match, the room fills with claps and cheers, slaps on the back, a warm mug shoved into your hands. Other times, just silence. Not out of disrespect, but out of something else. Something that says, we saw, we know, and we understand. Tonight, it's silence. You find your bunk, sit, breathe. No one speaks, but someone places a folded cloth beside you, clean, warm, a silent gesture of care. You nod, nothing more. Later, when the room gets dark and the candles burn low, you stare at the ceiling and think, not about glory, not even about death. You think about the face you saw in the dirt, the moment when it could have been you. You remember the stories you told yourself before the fight, how you'd be proud, how you'd feel powerful. But now, what you feel is something else. Survivor's guilt. They don't call it that, of course. There's no word for it in the barracks, but everyone knows it. It's the feeling that lingers after you win, when someone else didn't. The strange, dull ache that comes with walking back, while another fighter stays behind. You don't feel like a killer. You don't feel like a hero. You just feel heavy. But there's also something else, tangled up in the sorrow and the ache. Pride. Not the loud kind, not the fist in the air kind. Just the quiet pride of making it through, of doing what you had to do, of staying alive one more day. It doesn't erase the guilt. It just sits beside it, like two sides of the same coin, and you carry both. Your scars will stay with you, some visible, some not. The scratches on your forearm, the sore rib that still hasn't healed right, the way you flinch when you hear metal clash too suddenly. These are things that don't go away, but you get used to them, like all gladiators do. Tomorrow, the training will start again. Your body will be sore, your mind will still wander, and yet you'll rise when the trainer shouts. You'll grip your sword, you'll step onto the sand, because that's what this life demands, and because you know now, more than ever, what the price of survival really is. You lie back, close your eyes, let the quiet settle over you. Somewhere outside, the last cheer of the day fades into the wind. You don't know what tomorrow will bring, but for tonight, you rest. You thought you understood the arena, the heat, the sand, the rhythm of combat, the crowd and its hunger for blood. But then one morning, the trainers say something different. No sparring today. No duels. Today, you fight something else. The Romans didn't stop at man versus man matches. That was just the beginning. When the crowd craved something wilder, they brought in animals. And not just wolves or dogs. We're talking lions, tigers, bears, elephants, even rhinoceroses. Animals captured from across the empire, dragged to Rome in cages, and paraded into the arena like prizes. These were the venaciones, the beast hunts. And for gladiators, they were a different kind of terror. You don't fight a lion the way you fight a man. A lion doesn't care about footwork or timing. It doesn't hesitate or bluff. It just charges, teeth bared, claws out, faster than you thought possible. You might have a spear, maybe a short sword, sometimes not much at all. Some men are trained for it, bestiarii, gladiators who specialize in fighting animals, but even they know these fights are chaos. There's no reading your opponent's face, no moment of mercy, just survival. The arena changes too. Trapdoors open. Cages rise from the ground with a roar and a puff of dust. The crowd gasps as a bear lumbers forward or a panther slinks along the wall. And suddenly, the sand isn't just hot, it's alive. Other times, the organizers get creative, very creative. One day, they flood the arena. You hear the rumble early in the morning, a strange, echoing slosh of water rushing through underground chambers. By the time you're called to the gates, the entire floor has transformed into a shallow lake. And this time, you're not on foot. You're on a boat. These are the naumachie, staged naval battles. Rome builds miniature ships, floats them in the arena, and orders men to fight on water. Sometimes it's gladiators, sometimes it's prisoners thrown into the fray with a sword and a shrug. You step onto the deck, the boat bobbing beneath your feet. No armor, just a short tunic and a shield, slippery with river water. Your oar creaks, the sun reflects off the surface like glass. You glance across the arena. Another boat, another crew, another set of men with everything to lose. And when the horn blows, it's chaos.
Swords clash. Boats ram each other. Men fall into the water and thrash, some unable to swim. Shields splinter, oars break. You can't even hear the crowd anymore. Just shouting, splashing, the scrape of wood against stone. There's nowhere to run, no high ground, no corners to retreat to. Just the water and the enemy. Sometimes they add fire. Torches lining the arena, oil poured into the sand, flaming arrows shot into the air, trailing smoke and sparks like angry comets. One moment you're dodging a blade, the next the wall behind you is on fire. It's not just spectacle, it's sensory overload. The heat, the roar, the smell of singed leather and scorched flesh. And the crowd, they love it. They don't want just a fight. They want a story, a performance, a memory burned into their minds like the flames rising around you. And then there are the unpredictable dangers. Animals don't follow rules. Neither does fire, or water, or wind. You might train for weeks to face a single opponent, but the minute they release a pair of tigers into the arena, or a bull with knives tied to its horns, all that planning goes out the window. One misstep, one wrong glance, one moment of hesitation, that's all it takes. The arena becomes something else during these events, less of a stage, more of a storm. You don't fight with pride. You don't fight for glory. You fight just to stay on your feet, to stay alive, and yet there's something strange about it, something powerful, because when you survive, when the flames die out, when the water drains, when the last beast is dragged away, you feel something new. You feel like you've passed through madness and come out the other side, shaking, burned, but stronger somehow. These special events are rare, but they're the ones people remember. Years later, someone might forget your name, but not the time you stared down a charging lion and lived, or the match where your boat caught fire and you still managed to win. And when you return to the barracks afterward, soaked, blistered, bloodied, there are no words, just looks, just quiet nods, just the understanding that today was different. That what you faced wasn't just an opponent, it was nature itself. You lie in your bunk that night, your skin still smelling of smoke and river water, and think, I wasn't supposed to survive that, but you did. And now nothing, not even the next fight, feels quite as terrifying.
It's a strange thing, walking away from the arena. No crowd, no armor, no weight in your hand except the wooden sword they gave you, the rudis, smooth, polished and light. After everything, the training, the blood, the noise, now this quiet. You've earned your freedom, and for the first time in years, no one owns you. So what happens next? Where do gladiators go when the fighting is done? Some stay close, not because they have to, but because the ludus is the only home they've known for a long time. They become trainers, passing down the skills they fought hard to learn. You'll see them walking the yard, correcting stances, shouting encouragement, giving advice to the next generation of scared recruits. They're not just teaching sword work, they're teaching survival.
And the students listen because they know. This man lived through it. He knows what it's like to stand in the sand and face death with nothing but a shield and a heartbeat. Others take different paths. Some become bodyguards, hired by wealthy patrons to protect their homes or escort them through the streets of Rome. Former gladiators are strong, trained, and not easily scared. That makes them useful, valuable. A few get offers to join city guards, keeping order where things get rough. They trade the arena for alleyways, the roar of the crowd for the quiet tension of a night patrol. And some just disappear. They take their rudis, pack their things, and walk out of the city gates, off into the hills toward a quiet life that doesn't include swords or shouting. A farm, maybe, a workshop, a cottage by a river. Nobody hears from them again, and that's okay, because they've earned their silence. But even if they fade from view, their stories don't. Rome has a way of remembering its gladiators. You see it in murals, painted on the sides of taverns and bathhouses, a fighter mid-strike, a lion rearing up, the crowd painted as a blur, arms raised in wild celebration. You hear it in poems, verses sung in the marketplace or whispered in wine shops. He fought like Mars himself, someone might say. I saw him win 3 matches in one day. Are the stories true? Maybe. Maybe not. But that's not the point. In Rome, gladiators become legend. Even the names live on. Scratched into stone walls, carved onto tokens, painted across banners. Crixus the Bold, Felix the Unbroken, Sabina of the Iron Blade. Some names survive for decades. Long after the fighter is gone, people still say them with awe, or at least with curiosity. Who was he? What did she do? Did they really fight a bear? The details might fade, but the impact stays. Sometimes the fame goes further. A wealthy patron might commission a statue. A merchant might name his son after a favorite champion. A festival might feature reenactments of a famous match, with children pretending to be lions and cheering crowds made of neighbors. And slowly, these fighters become more than people. They become symbols of strength, of courage, of something wild and noble, even if it came with chains and pain. But not all stories end with glory. Some gladiators are remembered as warnings, men who got too proud, who challenged the wrong patron, who fell not in battle but by betrayal. Their names are told in hushed tones, cautionary tales passed down by older fighters to new recruits. Don't be like him, they say. He forgot how lucky he was to survive. So legacy is a coin with 2 sides. On one, honor. On the other, humility. And then there are the quiet ones, the fighters who never got famous, who never won a crowd, who never had a mural or a chant or a story told in their name. But they lived. They trained, they fought, they endured, they mattered too. Not because of what Rome thought of them, but because they held the line. They did what had to be done. They stood in the arena when their hands were shaking and their hearts were pounding. And they made it home. Years later, someone might walk past an old man sharpening a knife outside a bakery. They won't know that he once fought 5 matches in a single summer, that he took down a champion with a broken wrist, that he stood, bloodied and breathless in the Colosseum as the crowd screamed his name. But he'll remember, and that's enough. Being a free man after a life like that isn't easy. There are aches that never go away, dreams that still end in panic, scars that burn when it rains. But there's also peace, the quiet kind, the kind that comes with sitting in the sun, listening to birds instead of drums. The kind that comes with waking up and knowing you don't have to fight today. And maybe one day you'll hear laughter outside your door, children playing, chasing each other with wooden swords. You'll hear one of them shout, "I'm a gladiator," and for a moment you'll smile. Because somewhere deep in the heart of the city, under all the noise and dust, your story still lives.
The sky outside is deep and dark. Not quite black, but nearly there. The training yard is silent now. The torches have burned low. The air smells of oil, dust, and something faintly sweet. Maybe bread from the kitchens, maybe someone burning incense nearby. And in the barracks, one man is still awake. He doesn't talk much, never really did, but tonight his silence feels different. Not just another match, a big one. The kind people talk about for weeks afterward. A full crowd, important guests, a high-ranking sponsor, maybe even someone from the emperor's court. He knows the weight of it, but he doesn't show it. He sits at the edge of his bunk, a candle flickering beside him. In his lap, a scrap of parchment. He's been writing the same short letter for nearly an hour. No fancy words, just a few lines, a name, a town, maybe a promise. He doesn't know if it'll ever reach anyone, but still, he writes it, because tonight feels like it deserves something permanent. When the letter's done, he folds it carefully, tucks it inside a cloth pouch and sets it by his gear. Then, without a word, he reaches for his blade. It's already sharp. He's made sure of that. But tonight he sharpens it again, not out of need, but out of ritual. Slow, steady movements. The sound of metal sliding against stone is soft, almost soothing. Shk, shk, shk. Each pass a thought, a breath, a quiet prayer hidden inside the rhythm. He checks the straps on his armor, rubs oil into the leather, makes sure nothing's cracked, nothing's loose. He lays it out neatly, as if he's dressing for something formal. And maybe he is. Others in the barracks are asleep now, or pretending to be. They've seen him fight before. They know what he's capable of. Some have trained with him. Others have stood in the ring across from him. But tonight, he is alone with himself. And somehow he looks peaceful. He kneels beside his bunk, not dramatically, not for show, just one knee to the floor, hands folded together. A silent prayer to Mars, or Nemesis, or maybe just to the quiet night, not asking for victory, just for clarity, for courage, for calm, and he gets it, because inside him something has settled, not fear, not pride, just acceptance. He knows the risks, he knows the odds. He's seen stronger men fall and weaker ones rise. But none of that matters now. What matters is how he enters the arena. Not just standing tall, but ready, inside and out. He sits back on his bunk, takes a slow breath, and lets his gaze wander around the room. The old wooden beams above, the small flicker of candlelight bouncing across the wall, the quiet sound of someone snoring softly in the next bunk over. It's a simple space, but it's been his world for years, a world of drills, bruises, laughter, and survival.
and now, maybe, it's final night. He doesn't think of the crowd. He doesn't think of fame. He thinks of small things. A summer day by the river, a smell from a bakery back home, a friend who didn't come back from the last match. Memories like soft stones in the palm of the mind, smooth, quiet, worn by time. Outside, the wind moves gently through the open windows. A torch crackles, a sandal shifts against the floor, but mostly silence, a rare, peaceful kind, the kind that settles into the bones and says, "Rest. You've done all you can." He lies down, closes his eyes. His blade is clean, his gear is ready, his mind is still, and slowly, quietly, the candle burns lower. His breath becomes steady, and sleep, gentle, silent, takes him, not as a warrior, not as a fighter, but as a man. Tomorrow the noise will return, the gates will open, the crowd will roar, but tonight belongs to peace, and nothing more.